A car horn blares behind you. Your shoulders jump. Your heart slams. And for a full half second, you have no idea why. That's the strange part. You reacted before you understood. Your body moved before your mind caught up. So who made the decision to flinch? It wasn't you. Not the you that thinks in words and makes plans. Someone else in your skull got there first. This happens dozens of times a day, and you barely notice it. A shadow crosses the corner of your eye. A door slams 2 rooms away. A stranger's voice rises half an octave. Your pulse spikes before you've consciously registered any of it. You feel the fear first. The explanation comes later, stitched on like a caption after the fact. For most of your life, you've probably assumed that seeing comes first and feeling comes second. See the danger, then feel afraid. But that's backwards. Your brain built a shortcut millions of years ago, and that shortcut is still running every single day, faster than the part of you that calls itself you. Here's how it works. Light hits your eyes and turns into signals. Those signals have 2 possible routes through your brain. One route is slow and careful. It travels to the visual cortex, gets fully processed, gets compared against memory, gets labeled, and only then gets sent onward as a conscious perception. That route is accurate. It's also sluggish, relatively speaking. The other route skips almost all of that. It goes straight to a small almond-shaped structure buried deep in your brain called the amygdala. This path is rough. It's blurry. It ignores detail in favor of speed. But it's fast, roughly twice as fast as the conscious route. The neuroscientist Joseph Ledoux mapped this shortcut in the 1990s and gave it a name that stuck: the low road. The low road doesn't care what the object actually is. It cares whether the object matches the rough shape of something dangerous. A coiled shadow on the trail. A sudden shift of shape in your peripheral vision. A loud low-frequency sound. The amygdala fires a threat response off these crude cues alone, long before your visual cortex has finished rendering the full picture. Think about what that means. Somewhere in your skull, a decision gets made about danger before you've consciously seen the thing that's dangerous. Your body starts preparing to run or freeze or fight while your conscious mind is still loading the image. Why would evolution build something so reckless? Wouldn't it be smarter to wait, to look properly, to be sure? Not if being sure gets you killed. Imagine 2 early humans on the savannah. One waits for a full, accurate identification before reacting to a rustle in the grass. The other flinches first and checks later. Most of the time, the rustle is wind. The flinch was wasted. But the one time it isn't wind, the human who waited doesn't get a second try. Natural selection doesn't reward accuracy. It rewards survival. And a hair trigger system that's wrong 9 times out of 10, but right on the 10th beats a careful system that's right 9 times out of 10, but too slow on the 10th. Your ancestors who flinched too easily lived long enough to have children. Their nervous systems are the ones you inherited. You are, quite literally, descended from the twitchy ones. There's an experiment that shows how deep this goes. The psychologist Arne Ullman ran studies where people were shown images so briefly and then immediately covered by a neutral image that the participants had no conscious awareness of what they'd seen at all. Ask them, and they'd tell you they saw nothing. But when the hidden image was a snake or a spider, their skin conductance spiked anyway. Their sweat glands responded to a threat their conscious mind never registered. The body knew. The mind didn't. Later, the researcher Paul Whelan used brain imaging to confirm what was happening underneath. He showed people fearful faces so fast they couldn't consciously identify the emotion, sometimes not even confirm a face had appeared at all. The amygdala lit up anyway. It responded to threat cues that never crossed the threshold into conscious sight. So the fear isn't a reaction to what you see. It's a reaction that happens instead of seeing, using a preview so rough it barely qualifies as vision at all. This is why you can jump at a coiled garden hose in dim light. For a fraction of a second, before your visual cortex finishes its slower, more careful analysis, the hose is a snake. Not metaphorically. As far as your amygdala is concerned, in that instant, it actually is one. The relief you feel a half second later, the little laugh, the "oh, it's just a hose." That's your slow system finally catching up and correcting the record. Notice something else about this system. It doesn't just fire on real threats. It fires on anything that resembles the rough shape of a threat, stripped of context and nuance. A raised voice at a dinner table. A boss walking toward your desk with a serious expression. A text message that says, "We need to talk." None of these are physically dangerous, but they trip the same ancient circuit that once existed to protect you from teeth and claws. This is where the mismatch starts. The low road was built for a world of predators and cliffs and rival tribes. It was never updated for a world of emails and deadlines and social feeds. But it's still the system running the show, still firing first, still deciding what counts as danger before your rational mind gets a vote. That's why an argument with someone you love can make your hands shake, even though nothing in the room can actually hurt you. That's why public speaking triggers a genuine stress response, even though a room full of seated strangers has never once eaten a person. Your amygdala doesn't distinguish between a predator and a PowerPoint presentation. Both register as threat-shaped. Both get the same fast, blunt, ancient answer. Does that mean you're at the mercy of a caveman alarm system forever? Not entirely. The slow road still exists. It's just slower. Given a few seconds, your visual cortex, your prefrontal cortex, the deliberate, reasoning parts of you, catch up and correct the picture. That's the entire arc of a flinch. Fast wrong guess, then slow correct answer, then relief. The problem isn't that the fast system exists. The problem is when you never let the slow system finish its work. When you act on the flinch instead of waiting for the correction. When you snap back at the raised voice instead of waiting the extra 2 seconds for your cortex to confirm there's no actual danger in the room. Knowing this changes what a flinch means. It's not a verdict. It's a rough draft. A hypothesis your brain throws out in 1/100th of a second because 1/100th of a second is faster than dying. It was never meant to be the final word. It was only ever meant to buy you time until the rest of you showed up. So the next time your shoulders jump before you know why, remember what actually happened. Some ancient part of you, older than language, older than reasoning, older than your own name, looked at a blur of shape and shadow and made a guess. It didn't consult you. It didn't have time to. It has never had time to, not once in millions of years. And that's exactly why you're still here to notice it happening. You didn't flinch because you were afraid. You were afraid because you flinched. And somewhere underneath every startled breath you've ever taken, that ancient guesser is still on duty, still scanning, still deciding what counts as danger, a full half second before the rest of you even knows there was a question.